Welcome back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name's Courtney and I'm hosting with my dear friend Bri. The intention of the show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural masculine and feminine energetic core.
Yes, ma'am.
This is season 3. Season 3. We've been doing this for 3 years now.
It's crazy to think about. Since 2021.
Wild.
Our first episode. Not long after we really met each other either.
Truly.
The birth of the podcast happened so quickly after we became friends.
It was like divine intervention. Like
yes.
Bri and Courtney became friends. Podcast.
100%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And we haven't looked back. We are so grateful that you guys are still here in season 3 with us. And we are super excited for what we have planned for the year for you. Today, we have a really fun episode. Before we dive in, I want to introduce you to my friend Bri and her work in the world. And then I will share what I do and we will dive into the show.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Those of you who have been here for a long time have heard this a million times, but my work in the world is helping really high-achieving, driven women embrace their empowered feminine energy and attract healthy love from empowered masculine partners. Most of my clients come from a background of, unfortunately, trauma and abuse with the masculine, so that's become part of the work that I do almost every single day, is healing those patterns, as well as sex, love, and intimacy work, because often when we have those blocks in our body or those leaks in our body, it shows up so much in the bedroom and how much we expand pleasure. And as you know, pleasure is a big element of feminine energy. So that is my work in the world, as well as business mentorship for entrepreneurial women, which is very near and dear to my heart. And the healing is done through somatic-based practices. So Courtney and I both take a body-based approach. As you know, trauma lives in the body, and that's probably what you would get from both of us if you worked with either one of us, really, is somatic-based healing. Mm-hmm. Courtney's work, very similar, slightly different, still very genius, if you could quantify how genius something is. Very genius. Tell people what you do.
Thank you. Yep. I am a relationship mentor and a trauma-informed dietitian. I really do take a body-up approach to everything from how we choose to nourish ourselves, mind, body, soul, and how we show up in relationships. A lot of it gets handed down generation to generation in terms of how trauma stays in the body until we actively go in and let that go. Once we do that, it's amazing how free and light and expansive we can become. And each of those things have their own nuances around challenge points and how to grow in those ways. So opening up to more and new types of experiences. I love helping women in that way. Again, using more of a somatic-based nervous system approach. So we talk all things healthy relationship dynamics because we don't relate in a vacuum. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nothing happens in a vacuum, which I think is why you started doing this type of work too.
Yeah.
Transitioning from straight business to actually, we're not just doing business by ourselves. We have all these other people around us, and those skills are required if we're going to keep growing. Same thing with health. You can only get so far in your own vacuum before we need to start bringing in some new skills and upgrade the whole system.
And in either situation, right, with nutrition or with business, probably the biggest influence, I would imagine, on someone's success with new health goals is going to be family, the household, what the kids, especially if you're working with women, right? It's like, what do the kids need? How's my emotional load? Can I even take this on? So 100%. It's all about relations. The same with business. You know, if you and your partner are fighting, it's hard to show up in your business, or if you're dealing with a lot of self-doubt, that's showing up in relationship and business. So Courtney and I are both very, I hate the word, but holistic in our approach. It's just kind of a limp word, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody uses it, but we do look at the whole person. And
holistic with a W.
Yes.
We're all about wholeness.
Yes, my brain was computing that for a second. Wolistic? I get what you mean.
Person. We want the whole person to feel whole. So let's dive into today, because today is the start of a new year, start of a new season.
Yes.
Fresh start for everybody. Here we go. What are we talking about today, Bri?
We're talking about setting intentions for your year between where you are right now and where you want to be come 12/31/24. who do you want to become by that time? What do you want your relationships to look like? What do you want your own relationship to arguably the most important, your relationship to yourself to look like? And we want to, number one, share some gaps that we see most commonly in our work to give you some menu items. Because I think a lot of times people want to improve and they just don't know tangibly what's going to move the needle in their experience. Court and I, we know through the podcast, but through our work, in our practices with our clients, see the gaps every day. Our job is to look at where someone is, where they want to go, build the roadmap, and fill in the spaces. So we're going to open up the space for you to set your intentions in terms of relationship and relationship to yourself, platonic, romantic, with others. Give you the gaps that we see most commonly for men and women, masculine and feminine, however you prefer to say. And then we'll give you a little scaffolding on like, what do you do with that information? Now that you've set the intention, you're noticing, oh, these are my gaps. I'm going to take those as my goals. What do I do with that? How do I set myself up for success? And that's going to be the episode. It's going to be amazing.
I mean,
perfect New Year episode.
Truly. This is, that is the roadmap. This is like a baby coaching session. Here we go. All right, so I love that you set us up like that because we've talked about it in many previous episodes. You're not just relating to other people. It's a mirror of the relationship you have to yourself and to specifically the opposite polarity part of yourself. Your relationship with your masculine energy, your relationship to your feminine energy, if you're a more masculine core person, is going to be played out in all of the dynamics around you. They may be different based on the role that you typically fall into in that particular dynamic, but as a general rule, it's a good place to start.
Yes.
Anything you want to share on that part first?
No, that makes sense.
Cool. All right. What would you say, because we have different kind of client focuses based on who finds us and who resonates with the work that we're doing. So, sorry guys.
We both have tea. If you're not watching YouTube, which, did you know we're on YouTube, by the way? How exciting. You can see my new house. Those of you that follow me personally, I bought this house this year. You get to see my living room.
So cute.
But we both have tea because Courtney allergies. Me, I'm overcoming the cold. So you might hear some sniffles and some coughs.
We keep it real.
And we don't edit it out. It is what it is.
Exactly.
What was the question?
The types of women that are drawn to our work have different things that they're healing at different times. I would say that you could probably get benefit from each of them, but you need one right now and one maybe later. That's what people tell me. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go see Bri now. I'm like, great, awesome, she's got the other half. So we're gonna bring both of those things together, and so that you can kind of see a bigger spectrum of options to choose from, so that you can say, I want that, I want that, I want that.
Yes.
24, here we go.
Yeah.
So your people that you are currently working with, is there a theme that you see most often as like a gap that either they don't know it's an option to ask for and or aren't sure how to get there and therefore don't ask?
Totally. So I think probably the first step is, if you're listening, you've already been reflecting on, oh, what would my goals be for the year? You know, so I would take note, if you can right now, if you're not driving, what those gaps are that you noticed of, you know, point A where you are and point B, where do you want to end up? What's that vision look like for yourself in terms of your embodiment of your feminine energy and your relationship to yourself and relationship to others? If you could have it all your way, what would that look like? So like Courtney was saying, I mostly work with really high achieving driven, successful women. Like the woman who is independent and successful and needs to learn how to open up to love and let the masculine be there for her and embrace her feminine. I know her, I've been her. This is my highest success rate with clients, is the driven woman who's ready for healthy love. And probably the most common, there's so many.
I know.
I was gonna say the most
really
common, and my brain was like, no, there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many things. So some things I see in my practice. Hyper independence, because it's too vulnerable to let someone support her, because it's hard to trust, because she's afraid she's gonna lose her independence, she's afraid she's gonna depend too much. There's so many wounds that circle back to, but not letting the masculine support her. A really common one as well, which usually feeds into the first one, is having a lot of past trauma that she's not yet sorted through, which is staying in her body because she's probably so smart that she intellectualizes all of her feelings instead of feeling her feelings. Did you know that? Would you remember like when and where you were when you learned that concept?
Yeah,
because I do.
Exactly. It was transformative.
Game changer.
Yes.
I could have told you every reason why I felt how I felt. That's not feeling your feelings.
I was just about to say, was I actually feeling it though? Because it's pretty rational at that point. Okay.
This is hard for me because I grew up with XYZ and I went through this, and I don't remember who it was, but they're like, yeah, and how does that feel in your body? Like, I don't know. I'd prefer not to feel that. That's why I'm telling you about it, you know?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. That's why I'm talking about it.
So really smart women, especially if they love psychology, tend to intellectualize their feelings instead of feel them. And that has a number of repercussions because you end up living from your head. You're cut off from your good sensations. You're usually not allowing pleasure to circulate fully in your body when that happens. You're not letting your masculine partner feel you, which is kind of your feminine gift, is the emotionality that you get to embody in an empowered way, not a wildfire way, although that could be fun sometimes too. But the hyper-independence, not feeling your feelings, storing all that trauma, those are things I would really clear out, because if you don't move those things, the energy's in your body and it informs your belief system about men, about love, about yourself, what you're worthy of. That your beliefs inform the paradigm you play in and what you attract into your world. So Courtney and I were talking about it before, and it just becomes this circle of like, very simplistically put, I have trauma and abuse in my background, therefore I'm afraid of love and men. And so then I believe the worst in them and I treat everyone like it could be a potential threat. And then these relationships don't work out. And then I have more evidence for why love is hard or men aren't good. And because I believe that men aren't good, I keep attracting men who have ill intentions. And then the belief gets stronger and it just goes like this over and over again. You gotta clear that shit out. Yeah. I have to cough, so I'm gonna pass the ball.
Yeah. That cannot come into 24 with you. Just gonna put that out there. That needs to stay in 23. We've got new, upgraded ways of being that are available. So I love that. Yeah, the hyper-independence for sure. To piggyback on that piece, one of the ones that I see most often with my clients tend to either already be in an established relationship, even if it's relatively new. They're more focused on the kind of triggers that come up around being merging life together, doing life with someone. When you come out of that hyper-independence state, say you've gotten, you can trust the masculine in the dating stage, but then things get real when you move in together, when you have, when you get married, when you start having kids, when there's new layers of life that you're needing to navigate and rely on this other person and be a team together with. So a lot of times the way that we are relating to ourselves in that regard of having all of these systems to maintain us and all of these habits that feel really good and juicy and feminine for us in single stage, dating stage, early relationship stage, they need to be flexible enough to not keep you locked in, because it will feel scary if you let any of those go. If that is like your life raft, you are going to feel terrified if any of those go, that you're losing yourself, that there's often a common pattern for my clients that they've lost themselves in relationships before and kind of dipped into that wounded feminine space. So really being able to support themselves and stay sturdy within themselves as things around them flex, and knowing and being able to see things from a different vantage point. That's kind of personality type who the situations that I come in and help the best with. So I would say for women, understanding that both of those can be reality, that you can still be strong and supporting yourself and have healthy habits, and those can flex at different seasons of your life, and you can take them on and off like a coat. We don't need a coat all year. We can wear it during this season. We can take it off during summer season. We can wear it just because we're cold, because we want to, because it feels good. Those are things that when you feel really empowered about how your life is being supported, you thrive. You get to see things from that elevated vantage point where you're not set up to lose yourself, but also you are able to show up as an integrated partner and have those hard conversations.
So well said. I know this is like a slight sidebar, but it really makes me think about managing expectations and how often we people break our own hearts.
Yes.
Because we really think every season of, we don't realize we're transitioning a season of life. And it's not always like that in relationship where there's a direct, okay, and now we're transitioning. It just kind of starts happening and you don't realize that you haven't changed your expectations based on the season of the relationship.
100%.
You know, so then you always make your experience wrong. You're like, how do I get it to go back there? Instead of what Courtney's saying is like letting that goodness in for where you are now and gaining new skills.
Ooh, that makes me think when we talked about codependency, there's episodes on codependency, but usually if you are wanting to, I always talk about it like a river, the river's going that way. If you are wanting to go backwards and have generational trauma, or you're wanting your relationship to return to how it was, you're kind of tethering yourself to a rock upstream and just getting like hit in the face with with water all the time and wondering like, why does everyone else get to float down the river and look happy and peaceful and I'm like getting splashed all over? That's it. We needed to turn you back around.
To go with the flow.
Ooh, yes.
One thing about Courtney, she's always got an analogy. The analogy queen. And if your brain works in analogies like mine, I'm your girl. It's so fun because she'll say things and you'll be like, what? Yes, it's exactly like a stream. And you don't know what she's gonna say. There was a confetti analogy for a while, right? Confetti popping analogy for a while. I can't remember what that was about.
Probably.
My job is to sidetrack us. If your brain does that, welcome home.
Welcome to the show.
Anyway, I think that's a great point. You know, manage expectations and learning new skills for that season.
100%. So there's always going to be ways that are like early codependency patterns kind of like come back in. So doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. I just want to say that. So those are like the common gaps that we see with women.
Yeah.
Any others that you want to add to that, or anything else you want to add to that part?
Well, I think too, just a menu item, right? Is if you know you lose yourself in relationship, how do you stay connected? We talk about intimacy. I talk about intimacy as how do I stay connected to myself and connected to this other person at the same time? That's the balance. Because if it's all about empathizing with somebody else, you are going to lose the sense of what you want. If you've heard my personal episode, I lived there for a while. So how do I stay connected and stay connected to me? And maybe that's a goal that you bring into your conversations. You know, if you tend to lose yourself. Even advocating for, so in the bedroom, you all know I love to talk pleasure. How do I stay connected to myself and someone else in the bedroom, right? Because a lot of times we're thinking about, well, what do they want and what feels good to them? But it's also about what feels good to you, which actually adds to the relationship and the experience for both people. And then you had said one other thing that really, oh, yes.
A metaphor? You need another metaphor?
Not yet, but keep it on deck. When you are dating, the hyper independence or just like being the boss lady, independent woman feels so empowering and amazing. But when you start dating and you are transitioning to, you already know, that's a skill set change. And like, if you don't see that coming, you can tether yourself to that rock. Like, hold on a second, but I used to do all these things for myself. And it's nice to learn new skills on how to let someone in. I'm talking to my driven women that you're not taking from anybody, you know, and to know that that person is safe and wanting to support you, which you would scan them for over time. But yes,
skills. We've got some good skills.
Yeah. Want to move on to men, or you got another?
Nope. I think that's
Take it
good.
away.
Yeah. Men. Men have a very different way of experiencing the world. And if you don't understand that, like their experience in the world is just different. In the same way that women have a very different experience in the world. And person by person, that's very different experiencing the world. And so this is kind of blanket and kind of going to be individualized because we can't speak for everyone. But what I see most often with my clients who happen to be men is that they might want to focus on, for themselves, what they need in a relationship. What's going to bring out the best in them within the context of a relationship, and not just, I'm going to provide for her. You are meant to be multifaceted. You get to be multifaceted. You don't have to just be the provider, protector. You can also be, and I want this type of dynamic. I want to feel supported in this way. I want to receive this in return. The mutuality is the benefit of the relationship. It's not a, constant give, although masculine partners can be amazing at providing. My encouragement is, I wonder what you actually need and want in a relationship and from a relationship.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to look at all the facets of not just, what are the roles that I want my partner to play, right? Not just that, but also what are my emotional needs? What are my physical needs? If I could have it on my way, what's the dynamic I want to create? Do I want more playfulness? Do I want more in-depth conversation? Do I want more date nights? What would mean a lot to me to get from a partner, and then to talk about that with your partner and explore what the possibility is and kind of negotiate in what ways she or he can show up for you.
Yeah, I would say definitely the clarity piece and the willingness to explore that part of yourself. It feels vulnerable to think about what are my emotional needs. You may be like, emotional what? Needs? Needs. You get to have needs, and being able to explain those in a way that is mutually empowering is a skill that might be a handy one to learn.
Yeah, I don't really, as you were saying about men and women experience the world so differently, we talk a lot about masculine and feminine energy, as a lot of you know from listening, and also socialization is a big aspect too. The way we're socialized into our gender, which is very different than masculine and feminine energy, again, as you know if you've been listening. But often people who are socialized as men do run into, is it okay to be with my emotions? And does that make me weak? And does that make me dumb? And does that make me
less attractive?
Yeah, less attractive. And it's just not how empowered women feel about that. Empowered feminine women want, trust me, to feel your heart. Women who still have some unpacking to do around maybe how they've been programmed to think about men too in society, and that's something maybe women set as goals. You might not get the response you want. That's not on you, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't embrace your emotions. It means you need to look for partners who are more emotionally intelligent. Underline. Period. Like, it's a compatibility thing. So if you've been shamed in the past by women who didn't receive your emotions well, or didn't have the skill set to hold it, don't let that stop you. Just maybe learning some skill set on how to scan for, is this a safe person who can meet me there, is really important. And for women, if you relate to that, we have masterclasses on how to hold space for your man and his emotions to create more emotional intimacy, because a lot of times women don't realize, we did not realize until we learned it, the ways that we were stunting emotional intimacy with partners.
Yeah.
Years ago. I mean, it's kind of like, I can't believe I was doing that.
Yeah, we didn't know what we didn't know.
Which is why we created the
masterclass.
Yes, and also the sister one, right, is to help the man share his triggers and things like that and move through them.
Well, we have the navigating triggers, which for men I think would be a great place to start, because
especially if you struggle with that.
If this is something that you struggle with, your triggers are your map. And the more you can feel comfortable using it as a map, the less you get triggered by your triggers, the faster you move through that.
The less you judge and shame yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm learning about my system.
I'm learning how I work. Great, because everyone is, I love your puzzle piece analogy, because it's an analogy, I just love it. But I do love that one, because not every puzzle piece fits together. It does have a spot on the puzzle. That's not wrong at the same time, but it doesn't mean it fits right here. Your job is to learn your edges so that you know, hey, I'm looking for a puzzle piece that has this shape that will complement mine.
You took the analogy to a new level. And I like it. You need the right edges. I normally say it like you're both whole and complete pieces and worthy puzzle pieces. You just might not fit together. But what Courtney's saying is great. I like that even more.
I do too.
And you need to know your edges and who's going to fit. Sometimes compatibility just isn't there because of capacity for emotions and where someone is in their growth. So
I would say that for men, just as a friendly note, that's where I see men struggling the most, is being able to recognize a woman's capacity because he doesn't know his own needs.
Because he hasn't been given permission.
He hasn't been given permission to explore what edges I have. And therefore you're trying to like connect with women who don't fit with you and wondering why it's not working. I'm doing all the right things. I know I'm a great guy. I know you're a great guy too. I see you.
Yeah.
And she may not have the capacity. You're not even aware of how much you're giving.
Yeah.
You are great, of course. And she may be saying, I don't have capacity for that. Or he may be saying, I don't have capacity for that. It doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong.
That is something people do all the time in dating. Is if they're not compatible, instead of seeing it that way, they take it personally as I'm inadequate or I'm not going to find love. All these personal beliefs we create because we had the experience. Like, what do you mean it didn't work out? So it must mean something about me. What if it didn't? What if it's just for you to go sit with yourself? Okay, if I'm honest with myself, is this the part I do want to grow into? Great, that's what relationships are for. But if I feel solid about this, maybe that partner is just not the best fit for me. And instead of turning in on myself, how do I turn my attention to attract someone who's more aligned to what I want? Right?
Silent clapping over here. Yes. So if that's your goal, if you've been hearing some things that you're like, yep, didn't know that was an option. Maybe I want to work at that this year. Let's take it a step deeper. What skills would we need in order to move in that direction?
To heal your relationship with your emotionality, or?
Yeah, let's start with that example.
I mean, I would say the Masterclasses are a great start, to be honest. And when you watch the Masterclasses, you're going to have more menu items and information. And then you'll realize, okay, here were my actual more specific blind spots. You know, what can I do next? We have notes and she's sliding them in front of the camera for me.
So that I can see them.
Yes, and me. Anyway. I forget where we were. What was the question? My sick brain.
Yeah. No, if you're hearing some things where you're resonating with, hey, that's been my situation, we see you. We have built some tools to help you with that, to actually give you the skills. These all translate into skills. That was such an empowering reframe for me, that like everything is learnable.
Oh yeah, that's a great way to see it.
Yeah. Everything is a skill that I need to develop. I don't go on dates because I don't want to have the hard conversation of we don't fit. Great, I need to work on that skill.
Right.
It doesn't need to zap my confidence. I just need to build that skill. What do you need to prop up your confidence in that particular area? Is it therapy? Is it a masterclass? Is it working one-on-one with us? Is it listening to all 74 episodes of For the Love of Men podcast and sharing it with everyone you know?
Preferably the last option.
Yeah. There's lots of resources out there. And if you can get clear on what you're needing, it's going to make that experience of getting what you need a lot better, like we talk about in any relationship dynamic.
Totally. Yeah. One thing I think too, are we moving on from our men gaps, or are we going to keep going with them?
If you know more, you can.
Well, I think the gap that I noticed for a lot of men, in particular with their relationship to the feminine, other than not knowing that, like their connection to their own emotions, you know, in developing that skill set of connecting to your emotions, you're also going to learn emotional intelligence skills, which will help you support your partner in a different way too. Because the masculine often doesn't realize how the feminine experiences emotions and how important it is, and how that's our way of connection to ourselves, to other people. It's real, it's truthful, it's like our way of moving through the world is, how do I feel about that, you know? And then trusting that gut instinct. And it's a beautiful gift of the feminine to have that intuition and to so naturally often feel her feelings, you know? But because the masculine often doesn't understand that difference in the feminine, sometimes they rely more on logic, just like women rely more on feelings not knowing, men rely maybe a little bit more on logic, right? And we kind of miss each other. This is how the podcast was born, this gap we've been trying to close. So if you can understand, if you could think about, in what ways do I want to understand how my partner operates in the world and what the differences are? That would apply for the masculine or the feminine, by the way. That would be really helpful. For example, understanding that feelings can't be right or wrong. They're just feelings. You don't have to agree with them to validate her, right? That's another skill set to build. How do I validate my partner's feelings? That skill, if you learn that, that's a relationship game changer. If that's an issue right now and you clean it up, game changer. Complete, I can't even emphasize how big it is to learn how to be with your partner's emotions, validate them, hold space, not make it wrong, that sort of thing. So that would be really great. And the last gap I often see with men is understanding their experience of safety and how women are really scanning most of the time, consciously or subconsciously, for safety emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, all these things. And again, trying to understand her experience as, we'll say, a woman walking through the world, how that might be different than a man walking through the world. I do think it's important to say too, you're learning from Courtney and I, who are two white women. We don't know what it's like to be a black woman or a person or any person of color and what their experience might be. I will say, maybe I've shared before, I've been in an interracial relationship the past 2 years.
I don't think you've shared that.
Have I not? I don't know if I have or not, but we talk a lot about safety and our differences in relationship to safety, which are very different than my conversations with, say, my dad, who is a white man, or my brother, who is a white man, and how they experience safety. And if you are also in a racial relationship, that's an important factor to understand your partner's experience. So it's not just, women are always scanning for safety. Sometimes it's also people of color are scanning for safety. If you're a white woman dating a black man, what does that conversation look like? I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just saying I would expand your thinking about your partner's unique viewpoint. But for men listening to learn about women, safety, I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay.
This is what I do.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I can't stop.
That's okay.
How would you explain, what are some things that make you close up from lack of safety? Like some subtle nuances that maybe the men might not hear as a woman. They might not notice.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Be it out here or interpersonal.
Yeah. One that comes to mind is the way that you speak about women at large and or specific women in your world. I am hearing that and scanning it through, will that part of me be safe with him? I'm not going to show that part of me to you because you clearly have strong feelings about it. It's not going to be a safe thing to share. And that will shut me down. The more often that I hear those things, the more pieces of me I'm taking in account of, well, that's not something I'm going to feel safe, or I'm going to have to really bolster myself if I'm going to share that with this person. Because the more often that you are doing that, it's almost like parts of me are not allowed to come to the table anymore, and that's my work to do, that I need to bolster all those parts. And that's a really simple way, in the same way that we help women speak about men in more empowering language. If you are wanting a quick win, tune into how you speak about women at large, the judgments you have about certain types of women, the certain behaviors and what that means, emotions and what that means. If you can start tuning into your perceptions of women and how you verbalize that, you will notice an immediate shift. I had a client who did this and noticed an immediate shift with the women in his life, where they were suddenly telling him things that they had never told him before, or they were suddenly coming to him for things that they had never asked before, or they just seemed lighter and more airy and open. And he was able to see new parts of them because he was speaking to parts of them that he had never considered needing permission to show up.
Wow, that's so profound. It makes me think about when I first explained the phases of the cycle, woman's cycle, to my partner, and how his jaw was on the floor.
Yes.
And he loved it. And he went off about how, I was like, I can't believe nobody taught me this. And I said, I can't believe nobody taught me this. I learned this when I was 24, like
I've lived in this body all 24 years without that
tell me I
knowledge.
had a cycle for so many years and I didn't know how it would change my hormones and my energy and my mood, and a lot of men don't understand that's not a controllable factor.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
you believe your brain, you know? So he was going off about, I can't believe I didn't know this, and how differently would I have showed up for my mom, for my sisters, for the women in my life, had I known, now that I watch what you go through. And obviously I can reveal more of that now. Now that he gets it and showed the empathy, it's like I can talk about not just my physical pain. I can say, so my brain's telling me XYZ. I just need you to tell me that you love me and I'm not an ogre. You know? I'm not like the house troll crawling out like it is in my brain when I'm on my cycle. I'm not like bloated as if I'm pregnant, right? And then those are just being facetious, but he created that safety for me when he really tried to learn and understand.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I can express a whole new experience with you, to include when I'm ovulating, I can tell you and you know what that means, right? You know, things feel very different right now.
Sign.
Yes. It's great for our relationship, so.
Oh, and what a great, I know we have a whole episode on this, guys. Go listen. We have 2 episodes on how to support your woman.
Third.
I think we need to, because we keep learning about our own bodies and translating it into what men need to understand in order to
Be in a relationship with a woman.
be in a relationship with a woman. This totally unique experience that you have never had, and we're trying to translate into words that make sense.
It's like nothing comparable either for
Right.
men, because their
It's
cycles are 24-hour.
Yeah, it is so unique. Anyways, but how amazing to support, just to support people, to have the awareness to know how to support people without them having to always ask. Not that they don't need to ask, that's very caveat here. They do need to have that skill. And the more we can have some awareness around their experience, the more natural compassion exudes to what they may be experiencing. It automatically lowers walls.
Yes. Yeah, the empathy and understanding. Yeah, and then you just don't judge somebody anymore. Instead, you get closer. Instead of moments of turning away, I can't understand why she must be on her period. It's like the worst thing to say.
Is it that time of the month though?
Oh, it's so invalidating. And I think that's what men don't understand, is like, it's just very invalidating to your feelings, which is why it becomes offensive, really. But it could be a moment of connection where he then says, oh my gosh, do you want to talk about it? Do you want a hug? Do you want some chocolate? Do you want to lay down? Like, you know what I mean?
I've got dinner. I already took care of it.
Yeah.
Go back to what men say that women love, that episode.
Yeah.
Any of those.
We should do another episode like that too this year.
I love that. Yeah.
But any aspect too, you know, we were just talking about race, right? For me to sit and learn and understand my partner's experience means that I can learn a different way to show up and support him. So if something is to happen, okay, I'm ready to listen. And understanding that I will never have that experience. So my job is to listen, you know, not comparing that to women's cycles, of course, but just the commonality that you're trying to understand your partner's unique experience of something you may never have. Gender and race are not the same, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and so safety to women, going back to that just initial point, emotional safety, which is like learning how to hold space, to validate their feelings, you know, to not make them feel like it's too dramatic, that sort of thing. The Masterclasses will help with that as well. And we talk in that episode about how women generally need to open their brains and then their hearts and then their bodies. So if you learn that about your partner, that can be really helpful too. And for you to think about, what do you need in those moments to really open? As Courtney's first point was, don't, you know, you get to have needs as well. How do you familiarize yourself with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the more you can become aware of those, the more you're just like charting your own map. You're knowing like, hey, last time we got in a fight, this was my experience. Here's what I learned about myself. Great. Intimacy built. So powerful. Yeah, sorry. So I think we mentioned the one for men, we mentioned the one for women, how to create safety, emotional safety. I would recommend men, if any of these things are resonating with you, go ahead and pick that one up too. Because the more that you can learn about how to support your feminine energy within yourself and shift the relationship you have to your own emotions, the more emotionally available you're going to become. You're going to start attracting a new type of woman, and I promise you are going to be, I just mic drop. I can't even. I feel like I'm spoiling everything.
When you feel that, you change who you attract. It serves you so much. Go on, Courtney. Sorry, I didn't mean to pick up your mic. You were just about to drop it.
I was dropping, and you're
like, take it.
fumble.
I'll take the mic over here. Thank you.
I'm glad, because that will be the biggest game changer for you. Honestly, you will be attracting a different caliber of woman.
Yeah.
I just judged myself because I did my Trump finger there.
She didn't
not
mean
what
it.
I meant.
She didn't mean
You're
it.
going to be attracting a different caliber of woman. If you have been struggling in relationships in the past, I'm not saying our masterclass is going to fix everything, because I don't believe that everything is just a fix-all, but that skill, if you can tweak that skill, that is putting you on a totally different trajectory, and the women you're going to meet on that path are going to be blowing your mind with the things that they bring to the table that you would not have experienced. Same thing for the men's one. The one, women, if you're listening, we have a men's masterclass, and it is what she's asking for and how to provide it.
Emotionally. What she's emotionally asking for.
Thank you. If you have a hard time containing your own emotional experience and find that you feel like you're all over the place, or it feels scary or uncharted territory, or you kind of seep out the sides, that skill of containing emotions is a requirement. Yeah, a requirement.
And the same for women, when you watch that training on how to help your man open up emotionally, when you learn that skill set, single or in a relationship, again, a game changer. If you're craving emotional intimacy and you are not getting it, you feel like, again, a common pattern for my clients is emotionally unavailable men. That's maybe the number one complaint I hear from these women, and they don't realize that their relationship to their own emotions is part of what's thwarting them off path and attracting the opposite of what they expect. And they often identify with, I'm a very self-aware person. I care a lot about my emotions. They don't see the gap, which is really my job to close, is how do we tangibly shift who you're attracting? And just like Court was saying, this is not uncommon. It is so common. My clients start tick by tick having a better and better experience dating. More and more, it was my experience, more and more aligned partners as I healed my relationship with myself. That's why when I work with women on feminine energy work, the whole focus in the beginning, the soft and secure feminine energy framework starts with healing your relationship to yourself. That's what changes the game. And then you learn more empowered feminine ways to date, and then you learn relationship skills, and they just build on each other so beautifully. So anyway, no matter what background you come from, you all know I've had narcissistically abusive to now healthy, empowered, polarized relationship. It's so possible. You're not stuck. And you can create a difference. Dating is not this thing that happens out here and it's kind of by luck. I think a lot of people approach it that way, right? It's like, oh, well, I'll meet the right person at the right time, and they'll come when you least expect it. All these sayings, we could spend a whole episode telling you, when that works and when that doesn't. But it's actually very intentional, very energetic, and honestly predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell from meeting somebody in 10 minutes, they talk about their dating experience, all the gaps, and where they need to be to get to the relationship they want. I'm sure you're the same way. It's not hard. But when you're so close to it, you can't see your gaps, regardless of masculine, feminine. So that's where we come in. If you're hearing these things, identifying with them, set your goals, awesome. And if you want support and scaffolding, we've devoted our careers to this.
Yep.
I mean, this is my life.
Yeah. Yes.
So we're here for you.
Yes, absolutely. And they're skills, which means you can learn them.
You're not broken.
You're not broken. I think that's one maybe reframe with the energetic piece that I think a lot of times, or maybe was a struggle for me, is the idea that it's all energetic and I need to be putting out the right energy. And there's very tangible skills that translates into.
Which changes your energy.
Which naturally changes your energy, but it's not all this ethereal thing that you're trying to control and figure out how to kind of nail Jell-O to a tree.
How do I be in the energy to receive? It's not that. It's tangible shifts to how you show up.
Yes.
But also that shifts your energy.
Yes. I just want to put that caveat out there because I don't want to miss. Yeah. misinform people. We have masterclasses. We each do work. We have kind of progressive levels of support and of content. Things that you will need at the next step. Okay, here it is. Things you need at the next step. Here it is. I know I was just telling Bri before we started, I just redid all of my course structure so that it's much clearer of here's the actual things. And if you want me to walk with you at each step of those, here's how you do that. So we'll put all of those links in the show notes. I know you have a mastermind going right now. Anything else you want to share?
I do have a mastermind that starts in July again. We'll start it. We'll do another round. Yeah, it's a 4-month mastermind. So I'm going to run it twice a year. It's called Soft and Secure. It's for feminine energy healing. And it's literally this work. It's how do I get from attracting emotionally unavailable men, feeling like I can't receive love, I have all this stuff in my background, to then being ready for healthy, empowered masculine partners and securely in your feminine. So that will start again in July. If you want to secure a spot, you're welcome to reach out. Otherwise, I do private coaching. And there's a masterclass on the basics of feminine and masculine energy you could look into. It's a real deep dive beyond what we teach you in the episodes. That's what I have going on. What do you have going on?
I'm actually really excited about, I do have a lot of health focus right now just because with the new year, I'm doing a little de-influencing in my own world around the health industry. But I would say if any of this is resonating, picking up, I've got a masterclass called Supported. That would be a game changer. It looks at both the gaps on the women's side, the men's side, to recreate polarity in the home when you get tripped up over the daily tasks. Having a little bit of compassion as to the other person's experience and or what's actually happening through the lens of this type of work. That's how that's laid out. So I really love that particular one. Right now I've bundled it with several other masterclasses. If you have any snags in the kitchen, these are like the 4 most common snags I see in the kitchen. It's $97 right now, like literally
Amazing.
A steal. So that's what I would suggest checking out. And then if you want some extra support on that, I have one-on-one spots available that I'm booking into February. So feel free to message me about those too.
So great.
Yeah.
Those are the ways that we can support you guys. And there's always links in show notes. But if you were engaging with this episode and you're identifying, my advice to you of what to do with this information now would be to list out all those things. You're like, I want to grow in this way, this way, this way. And then think about what scaffolding do I need? What skill sets do I need to develop? Because it's not personal.
Nope.
And what does that support look like? Therapy? Does it look like podcasts? Does it look like committing to reading certain books that you want to dive into, going to seminars, or even like group therapy is often free, by the way.
Yeah.
So
or reduced for sure.
Yes, and there are even like I know of, we're here in Nashville, but there are some sexual assault support groups that are completely free, all virtual. So, and I say that as an example of what you need help with. There is an avenue. You're not expected to do this by yourself at all. So there are free ways, there are low cost ways, or if you want more personalized support, Court and I are here.
Yeah, there is literally a plug-in for every point in your journey, every budget consideration, like time amount. There's always something that's going to be a good fit if you can see it that way and really get clear on the skills that you're needing. It becomes much more obvious what you need to plug into.
Totally. And then you would really reverse how you're going to get there by the end of the year, right? So you think about that scaffolding. What do I want to invest in, whatever my resources might be, and how can I create pockets maybe within my day or within my week to move the needle on that? It really helps. Courtney's a pro at this. She's so much better at it for this particular podcast that we do than I am. My beautiful brain is so much more like creative and blah, blah, blah. And Courtney's really grounding, which is amazing, but maybe I should let you speak on that. How would you reverse? Maybe I should shut up and give you the mic on how would you reverse their goal setting now that they know their areas?
Well, I love all of my framework breaks it down into skills because, again, like I said, that was such a game changer for me to think I'm not broken. It's not this like mystery thing I'm trying to heal or this huge energetic bubble around me that I need to get going in that direction. Like there are actual things that will change that. The way that has been really working for me that I've been helping my clients with is to get clear on what particular things you need to gain, what you need to let go of, and start to park those at different points in your calendar. When you get there, you can kind of refine it even more. There's so many resources out there of making actual changes, and a lot of times where I see people getting stuck is that they think that the change needs to look like X, when really they're kind of like a Y flavor. It's about finding the fit for you. It's not about the action as much as it is how well it fits you that will transition you to that type of transformation. Does that make sense? I said that.
Yeah, just deciding what you specifically need.
Yes. So it's the same thing of, you don't have to go to the gym 5 days a week. You can do Tabata, you could do yoga, you can do Pilates, there's lots of things that you can do. It doesn't necessarily look the same as it does for me as it does for you. And so finding something that's fitting for what you want to invest time-wise, resource-wise, energy-wise, that will translate on a weekly, daily basis into that goal. So I like to look ahead and see, where do I need to be gaining skills to prop myself up, knowing where I usually have little dips. It's sort of this roller coaster. When I think about it that way, I'm always building up to the lowest point so that it becomes a shallower thing, and then I bounce up a little bit higher, if that makes sense.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
So reverse it as much as you can.
Yes, and if you need help, I actually love strategizing like that, so
there you go.
Let me know.
One last thing, if you're willing.
Yeah.
I would love to hear, and also I'm sure everybody else would love to hear, what are two of your personal intentions for shifting in your relationship to yourself and in relationship, potential romantic relationships? What are your goals this year?
Yes. So I have, I feel like it's time to share. I've uncoupled from my recent partner. And that was actually a really beautiful and corrective experience for me. I'll probably talk more about that this year as the year goes on. But I am really excited to reconnect with myself in deeper ways. The ways that I have learned, the things I've learned about myself, the edges that I've found with myself. I am so grateful for all of that information, because now I get to really become more intimately aware of what I need to express even more, to show up even bigger in my work, on the podcast, growing my business, really building new skills and things that are fascinating for me. So I'm really excited for that. And just personal hobby note, I'm going to be starting ballroom dancing.
Oh my gosh, how fun. Wait, I didn't know that. That'll be so fun.
You guys are finding out at the same time as my BFF Bri, so you guys are now on that level. Yeah.
That makes me feel some type of way about the No, I'm just kidding.
So I'm really excited about that. I love, as you know, you do dance too. There's something so healing about putting yourself in a situation, A, socially, and B, in something that you're learning and you don't know how to do well, that stretches me in a way that I enjoy. I like that level of challenge of all the things that come up emotionally in those situations are good for me. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the bravery in the vulnerability.
Yes,
dancing is such a, I know, such a vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
And I also can't wait to see what you learn. I might ask you to just do a little few things if you're ever willing. Yeah, whatever you feel.
I'll let you know. Go keep you guys posted. So yeah, just kind of letting myself grow into this new year. I'm really excited.
I love that. Yeah. I also just reinvested in my dance lessons yesterday.
Yes.
Different style though, heels and hip hop. But similar to Courtney, it really stretches. It's so vulnerable and so fun. Do you ever have a part of yourself where you're like, this is so important to me and I feel good at this and I don't know how to show it to the world?
Yes.
So if you could see me in my kitchen, I dance all the time. I love music. I play guitar, I write songs. Music is my everything,
Yes.
When it comes to dancing, my partner's an incredible dancer, which talk about mirrors. he dances and I'm like, oh my, I did not know no. Especially in my ball dancing. Anyway, I was noticing where I knew I had the skill and I just couldn't, my body would literally freeze up.
Yeah.
And I'm still working through it, and my partner's so great about it, but mostly I'm great about it for me because I show up for me, right?
Yes.
So anyway, I reinvested in my dance lessons too.
Yes.
And it's so much fun because you just can't have the structure. I'm sure ballroom is more structure.
Yeah.
Mine is much more about inhibition in my everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the same level of inhibition I feel with pleasure, right? I want to feel that with dance.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I am excited for the ballroom. I did that a little bit before the pandemic, and then the pandemic kind of shut everything down.
Yeah.
But it was when I was learning how to integrate more feminine energy and to be responsive to your part. Like that is such a metaphor for masculine feminine energy. It is, yeah.
100%. And I noticed that too when he'll come up and try to dance with me in the kitchen, and like all my parts come up. Oh my God, do I need to look perfect? Oh my God, am I getting rigid? But if I can just relax into, wait, this is my partner that I love and we joke about weird stuff with, and you know, it changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Than the bracing versus relaxing into like following his lead.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Ooh, so fun.
Dance so much.
I'm glad that you're going to be doing that again.
Glad you're going to be doing that. I cannot wait to see.
Me too.
And you're going to meet so many fun people.
I know, I'm really excited. I'm excited it's going to be social, physical, and intellectual growth. I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Anything else you're doing this year to grow?
Oh, in personal and relationship, right?
Yeah.
I think, well, like I was telling you before the show, I'm a lover girl at heart. Sometimes to a fault. And I have to be careful. I've had to be careful in the past not to lose myself in a relationship, which is why why this work's so important. You know, I feel so devoted to sharing it because it's such a game changer. But I think one thing for me personally, I want to make sure that I do is I love my partner so much and I love spending time together. And I need to make sure that I also still do things solo that are really fun for me. So you guys may not know I love to DIY my house. And I've put off my projects because I just want to hang out with my partner and like watch funny shows and laugh together. And it's also important to me to make sure I have time with myself and who am I still outside of a committed relationship, right? How do I keep that alive? Because I also can't wait to be a mom someday, and I don't want to lose my sense of myself. I want to keep that habit. So that would be one thing.
Love that.
And then secondly, just really working on letting more love in the ways that it is showing up, and being open to that might not be how I learned to receive love, right? But like there are a lot of ways my partner shows up and wants to give me love that I'm just not used to. So trying to focus on that more and more and see all these ways he's showing up.
Wow.
Yeah, and as you know, perception is reality, right? So the more you focus on it, I just feel like I'm missing a lot of the bids.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm missing a lot of bids.
Wow.
And I want to get better at noticing the bid and catching the bid and revealing that I see the bid. I think that's my relationship skill I'm going to grow into this year.
Oh, amazing.
Because, you know, we want to be loved the way that we're used to being loved. And for me, it's like physical touch and words. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So, but he's just so great. And I want to see it more. You know, it's already there, but am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like peeking through. Like, oh.
Yeah. I didn't see that or that or that.
As it just falls to the floor.
Yes.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Amazing.
It's interesting. I love that we have two very separate, like similar but separate directions where you're really reconnecting with yourself and I'm learning this, you know, these new relationship skills. How cool for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to change things.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep
Love
it.
it.
We'll keep it real with you guys. That's all I can say.
So
that's an intimate look in our world.
yeah, the most candid we've been. If you made it to the end.
The gift is here.
There you go.
And I'm excited for the podcast this year. We get so much feedback from you guys, and it literally makes our heart sing. We send it back and forth as much as we remember to, and it is like the highlight of our day. We hear like transformational stories from a free resource that we put out because we thought, let's just put a mic in between us while we're talking. We should do that. I'm sure other people would benefit from this. Fast forward almost 3 years now, or 2 full years, and we're getting feedback where this is game changing. That's literally what always comes in my inbox. This information is game changing. We know.
Same. I've had DMs of women being like, just everyone needs to know about your show. We're like, we know. We're trying. We're trying to tell you all the things. The one message that always sticks with me is the woman who reached out, who'd been married 15 years, and she was like, you don't understand, this has completely changed our relationship. We didn't have the words for why we were kind of doing this with each other, and now we're back in sync.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and there's just so many, right? Like, I get client applications. One of the girls that's in the mastermind now binged the whole show. She's like, I listened from my however many 20-hour drive all the way there and all the way back. I know I want to work with you. I was like, did we just hang out for 2 days and I didn't even know it?
That is hilarious.
So it just means a lot to us. None of your messages go on, never goes unread. We probably screenshot it. We probably send it to each other. I probably sent it to my dad because I just like want to be proud of me, you know? And I really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. And our intention this year, our goal, as we were talking before this, is to grow the podcast even more, to give more of our playful, fun energy to the podcast. I think that's what the feedback that I get is like, I felt like I was just sitting in my living room with my girls, and I was like, yeah, that's good.
That's such great feedback.
That's good.
That's what we want too.
That's what we want. This is like a friend time for us to hang out and just chat with you guys. So that is our goal. We are going to be putting some new things in place. You guys will stay tuned for that. But we are going to be bringing even more of the lovable, playful, go with the flow vibe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we're also investing in support to make that happen, which is nice. We're in a place of being able to offload and kind of create a little bit of a team, which we're really excited about. And, should we tell them about, we kind of want to monetize too. We're starting to maybe think about adding some ads to the podcast, so don't be surprised if that happens. We won't spam you with them, but it does help us to create income from the show, means that we have more resources to put into the show, including our time and energy, right? So if you hear them, just know we're doing it so that we can grow bigger and give more information. If the show is to monetize and make us a decent amount of income, that's a real game changer for how much energy both of us can put free content and wisdom and all the things out to you guys. And that being said, if you are somebody who might want to advertise on the show, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Because we are avidly looking for aligned businesses to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't be spammy ads. They're going to be very aligned with what we are
We'll try to make them funny.
And if they're funny, even better. But yeah, super excited for that. More to come in 24. Let us know. I'm going to put a question box at the bottom of this episode, especially in Spotify, and I think in YouTube too. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you took away from this episode, what your skill that you are wanting to focus on. What's the next skill that's on your radar now that you want to start growing in 2024 that's going to change the way that you show up by December of this year? I would love to hear.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
If you want more from Courtney, it's all in the show notes. At Courtney_Shand is her Instagram. What's your TikTok?
It's all at Courtney_Shand across the board.
Amazing.
Yep. New website. Who this? 2024.
Yes.
I'm a millennial, y'all. It takes me so long to get in on the lingo that it'll last for another 5 years. Don't worry.
I love it. I think we have a lot of millennial listeners, so
good.
People get it.
You guys
We're
know.
Safe here. It's our show. We're safe here.
You're right. Anyways, I redid my website. I'm super excited about it. Go check it out. It looks beautiful, and we are going to be getting the podcast its own website.
Yes. Exciting.
Share that. Yeah. More to come on that.
Yes. Yeah. Everything else is in the show notes, right? Oh, my Instagram changed. If you don't know, it's not Building Bri anymore. It's Building Bri Coaching. Just so you know, it got shut down for pleasure education. I've been building up a new one. My TikTok is Building Bri. I'm on there every day. Pretty much 3 new videos a day. So that's a good place to be. For the Love of Men podcast is also a TikTok, and For the Love of Men podcast on Instagram. Make sure you add the podcast piece in.
It's the For the Love of Men podcast on Instagram. That's the trick.
The For the Love of Men podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, that is us. You'll see us. If you don't see us, you're on the wrong page.
Yeah, amazing. Anything else?
That's it. We'll see you later.
We are so glad you're here. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. I feel good about it.
Oh, I thought you said good morrow. I was like, what is this? Are you watching Downton Abbey? Like, what's
Top of the
happening?
morning to you.
That's rubbish. I was like, what?
I don't mind looking like rubbish on camera. That does not upset me.
Oh my god.
But if I stumble over my words, that will upset me.
That's true.
That is my line. Some people are more, if they don't look good, they don't show up. But mine, I'm like, if I don't have anything to say, I won't show up.
That makes sense. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna intro us? Always. 3, 2, 1.